Hello everyone, I am Rizza and we are going to learn about the external environment and accountability of a school, which are the resource dependence perspective, general environmental resources, availability of resources, and dependence. So here are the intended learning outcomes of this topic. Identify the stakeholders as integral environmental resource of the wider school community and discuss the sociological consideration affecting the learning environment and the wider school community in relation to the external environment and other factors. Let us first define what is stakeholders in education. So it is someone who has a vested interest in the success and welfare of a school or education system. This includes all parties that are directly affected by the success or failure of an educational system as well as those indirectly affected. To put it another way, stakeholders are those people or organizations who are part of education that contributed and concerns in the system of education. They are the one who create a sustainable change, provide and support for long-term sustainability and build a better organization. They are those organization and people that prepare students to be successful today and in the near future. But who are the stakeholders in our school? So we have here in the diagrams all arrows that pointing to school district, and you will see the external influences of the school. So the stakeholders in our school are as follows. The selected external influences in constituencies for a school district are the political and legal patterns, demographic characteristic, taxpayer, parents, unions, societal conditions, cultural values, school district, regulatory agencies, college and universities, legislatures, educational associations, accrediting agencies, economic and market forces, and information technology. So, what are the role of each of them in our school? Let us discuss one by one. First, we have political and legal patterns. So, when we speak of political, this is governed by those who are in position in which affects how the school is being run. So that a fact that whatever and wherever are in the position, they want to do something. The school is also affected because school is an institution of the community and the community is handed and managed by the politician. So, for example, the suspension of classes. So, the mayor will announce the whole community that the classes will be suspended, and the school will follow on what the mayor announced. Why? Because the school is part of the community. Next is the societal conditions. So, it is one of the external influences in a school that train the individuals or student in society and school to act or respond in a manner generally approved by the society. It is potentially modifiable characteristic of both social and physical environment at individual, household, and community levels. Next is the economic and market process. The school is also affected by the economy. School is part of the community in which is being run with the people who are in the position, and it connection to the societal condition, like for example, there is a problem in community, we are experiencing downfall when it comes to the economy, so the government cannot support the financial needs of the school, so dependence now is the school will be also affected. How? And so many ways, like the salary of the teacher, the materials that is being given to the students. So the school is really influences and will be affected with what is happening with the economy in our society. So another external influences is the information technologies. So, what is the benefits of information technologies in education? So, information technologies is important especially nowadays that our learning system is in new normal. Students can easy to access information, accelerated learning, explore new ideas, and deepen their understanding to difficult concepts. It fosters a collaboration. Teacher engage with student during lessons and can easily communicate with each other. So information technologies affects how the school is being run, and it is also help the students to become globally competent. Next, we have cultural values. So it helps the school learners to develop a great sense of identity that allows them to make use of the acquired skills effectively. It influences the school on how they understand and communicate each other even they are in different culture and beliefs. So another external influences is the demographic characteristic. It is about gender equality, and it is also affect the school because there are some schools that boys and girls are separated, but it is not only about the genders, also an age. Then we have here the parents because parents cater children and teacher collaborate with parents in molding their children. So next is the colleges and educational association. So there are the linkages educational association, different organization in education. Next is the accrediting agencies. These are the organization that will monitor and supervise the performance of the school. Next is the legislators. It helps the learners to acquire the knowledge, skills, values, and attitude they need to contribute constructively to society. And next is the regulatory agencies. It monitors schools and provide guidance to them when requested to ensure that the law upheld at all times. Another external influences is union. It ensures the teacher access to professional development by providing professional learning opportunities independently or in partnership with others. Another external influences is the taxpayer. So they pay taxes for the government to provide higher education and to produce quality graduate and workers. So what are the importance of these stakeholders in our society? So the legal patterns and demographic characteristics, it helps to identify what are the needs of the students, teacher in the school that the government have policies about it, and it depends on in making policies and programs to be followed and utilized by schools. Next is the taxpayer and parents give schools district students to be developed and pays taxes for the government to provide higher education and to produce quality graduates and workers. And the unions, accrediting agencies, legislature, educational associations, and regulatory agencies, it supports and ensure quality education and implements and create policies, programs, or tackle about the needs of education in helping the school district and receiving quality graduates. So we have here the resources, and it includes dependence perspective, availability of resources, dependence, and general environmental resources. We have two types of perspective on environment: resource dependence perspective and institutional perspective. So, in resource dependence perspective, the environment is a place to gain scarce resources for operating the organization. Dependence is characterized as the extent of the need for a resource in its availability. It is directly related to the need for resources controlled by other organizations. Suppliers gain power to decide whether school get resources they need and determine if the schools can use the resources the way they want. If organizations are unable to generate resources, internally they must enter into external changes which may consume vital resources and demand changes from the organization. So, resource dependence perspective includes environmental resources, and it also include the fiscal, personnel, information, products, and services. So, in fiscal, it managed system should use available resources in ways that most directly and effectively meet the educational needs of students. Personnel, those persons providing services within the educational setting, information knowledge communicated or received concerning a particular fact or circumstance. And information technologies help in promoting opportunities of knowledge sharing throughout the world. And in products and services, both core educational goods and services such as teachers, school buildings, school books, and teaching materials, and peripheral educational goods and services such as ancillary services in general administration and other activities. And here are the other resource dependence perspective, which are the environmental resources include simple or complex, availability of resources, scarcity to munificence, dependence, need in availability, decision makers view the environment as a place to gain scarcity resources for the organization. We also have the institutional perspective, limited emphasis on goals, effectiveness, and efficiency, school constrained by other institutions of society, administrators constrained by broader institution. So we have here a diagram from scarcity to munificence. So this is scarcity and munificence is under the availability of resources. Scarcity means lacking and munificence means more than enough. So in scarcity, competition for resources is fierce and munificence, survival is easy. In scarcity, zero-sum game and munificence pursue wide-ranging goals, and in scarcity limited to basic academic and extracurricular programming, and in munificence abundant curricular and extracurricular programs. And let us now explain what is scarcity and munificence. So scarcity refers to the lacking, which really gives a great impact to the students' academic performances. Example of this is pandemic, because there are certain applications that are needed to use equipment or materials, and when we say munificence, it is more than enough. So those schools in which resources is munificence, the students would be able to perform the given task to them effectively. So the school that have enough materials can provide the needs of their students to sustain the needed information for them to become fully skilled and prepared. Unlike to scarcity, they cannot fully provide the needs of the students, and it can cause unequal opportunities to those students. Another example is there are subjects or courses that are needed to do practically in order to meet the necessary outcomes for us to learn, but because of lacking of those resources, we cannot meet the quality of expectation of the teacher. Compared to those school that the resources is munificence, the students would be able to perform the given task effectively and appropriately, and they will meet the expectation of teacher. So let us now go on to the availability of resources. So availability of resources is the necessary resources that should be available for teaching and learning include material resources, human resources such as teachers and support staff, and physical facilities such as laboratories, libraries, and classrooms. And the dependence. The dependence is the excessive dependency creates problems for both teacher and students. An overly dependent student can command so much of your attention that you have little time left for other students. The overly dependent student has a problem with trust, and the person he has trouble trusting is himself. And the goal in working with an overly dependent student is to help him become more. That requires that you communicate to him your expectation and set firm limits on your interactions. So let us now talk about the importance of stakeholders in education. So the stakeholders play an important role in managing schools. They are the partners of the school leaders in making the schools conducive to teaching and learning. They are also responsible for the achievement of the learning outcomes through their active participation in school activities, programs, and projects. And that would be all for this topic. Thank you for watching and happy learning.